Welcome to the Imperfect Walk, where we have honest conversations about faith, marriage, and personal growth.
And today we're going to be talking about the cost of comparison.
Yeah, comparison might be one of the most destructive habits in modern culture, and most people don't even realize that they're doing it, which is so crazy.
I know, right? And this is why, man, even every one of us, even us, even when we first started this podcast, we're comparing to other podcasts and where we were at, but not realizing that everyone has their own journey, right? So we're excited to kick this one off because this is one that's definitely is going to help other people. This is going to be helpful for us as well. So we have 4 segments here that we really want to touch on. And the first one being why comparison is so common today. So I'll ask you that question.
Comparison is so common today because we have always been used to comparing ourselves to our neighbors, for example. We've been used to comparing ourselves to whoever we lived by, whoever we associated with, whoever we saw at school. And quite honestly, nowadays we compare ourselves to everything and anything because right in front of us we have social media, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have YouTube. And so constantly we're comparing ourselves to the highlight reels of everybody else around us. And in turn, it's constantly making us feel like we are not doing enough, that we are not far ahead enough, that we are not successful enough. And so, yeah, that's why it's so common today. But it's a joy killer. Comparison will kill your joy. And unfortunately, I do it all the time, especially as a mom. I compare myself to other moms, to what they're doing, I think all moms in general compare ourselves to other moms and other kids, how those kids are behaving and acting, how those kids are doing. And I think that it can just cause so many things. And we're going to talk about some of those things that it can cause, right, within us when we compare ourselves to other people. We're also going to give a couple good tips on how you can break free of that cycle and how you can start to just live for yourself and start to just stay in your lane and just trust God with what you already have.
It's true. And one thing about comparison, it makes you feel like you're behind. Because when you compare yourself, most of the time when you're comparing yourself, you're not going to compare yourself. Most of the time, you're comparing to somebody who you think is better than you. They do have the other way around where you compare yourself and make you feel like you're more ahead than people. When you feel like you're more, I'm way further ahead of you and stuff like that. And then you start putting yourself in that thing where in that boat, in that shoe, and now you're like, man, you're not even that far ahead. You're just comparing yourself to people. Whereas you should, honestly, if you were to differentiate, go between the two, you're supposed to be comparing yourself to people who are ahead of you with the goal in mind of, I'm going to get there. Not comparing yourself, belittling yourself, because that's a dream killer. You're also going to make yourself feel like you're behind. You're like, man, this guy is my age and he's making millions and I'm making minimum wage. You know what I mean? And there's so many different things there where it's like you put so much added pressure on you to try to accomplish that when maybe that's not your calling, that's not your timing. And the biggest thing is like TikTok. When COVID came out, right? It was a lot of people got away, like make millions dancing on TikTok. But do you know how many people did that or tried that? But when a certain amount of people got through, blew up. And one of those people who were actually putting the time in as well will probably be like, man, how did they blow up? But I didn't. You know, that could probably crushed their dream. Again, comparison can be a dream killer. And it's one of the hardest things not to do because it's easy to do. It's one of the most easiest things to compare in so many different things, right? Like if my kid's walking and somebody else's kid's not walking, be like, man, my kid is way ahead. But if somebody's kid's walking before your kid, you're gonna be like, man, why is my son not walking yet? You start comparing it and you start pulling that on other people as well when you start comparing yourself.
For sure, yeah. And there was that analogy that I just thought of right now of it's a diagram of comparison that starts off with someone having their dream like
Like a
supercar,
Ferrari or something.
Ferrari, yeah. And they have that, and the person under them in this picture, they have
Like a Mercedes.
some less of a nice car. And then the person under them has some like beat up car. And the person under them has, what is it, a motorcycle?
It was like a moped or something like
I
that.
think there's a motorcycle one, and then it's like maybe that. And then the person under them is looking at the one on the motorcycle or whatever,
With a bicycle.
and they have a bicycle, and the other person is looking at them, and they're walking. They're like, "Oh, I wish I could just have a bike." And the person under them is looking at the person walking, and I think they're in a wheelchair,
In a
right?
wheelchair, wishing they could walk. Yeah.
And they are, "Wow, I wish I could walk." And under them,
It's like someone who's like bedridden. So it's
mm,
like, man, I wish I can even just roll around in a wheelchair.
like a paralyzed
Yeah,
person or
like a
something,
paralyzed person can't even.
or sick, someone sick who can't stand, and they're
Exactly.
like, "Wow, I wish I could just roll around." And that, I think, is the best diagram that shows comparison, because we have no idea what blessings that we have in the situation that we're currently in. We look at someone else who might have better, but we have no idea the circumstances around that. We don't know the sacrifices they made to get there, and we also don't know, if they even love being there. Maybe someone with everything that you want is looking at you and saying, "Wow, I wish I had a beautiful family. I wish I had kids. I wish I had joy like this person does." And so we never really know the other end of comparison. Grass is always greener where you water it. So if you're watering yourself, you're watering your mind and everything, then you're going to be the green grass, and that's all you got to focus on.
And just to kind of continue on this segment here, just to go through another thing is like, what caused comparison? Where is comparison really coming from? When you think about it, it's coming from a mindset where it's like we all want to feel validated by other people. So you want to feel like you're ahead. You want to feel like you're doing well. But when you see people doing way better than you feel like you're not doing as well. And it's like you want to keep up with the Joneses is what they call it. And that's where that comparison comes from. It's like people just want to feel like they're doing better than the other person, which is why there's so much thing as a comparison. Like if you look at the sports, people compare stats. Who's doing better? Like there's good comparison, there's bad comparison. You
Mhm.
gotta know how to do the good comparison. And that's something we can actually cover as well. But it's like a lot of the time it's not the good comparison, it's comparing yourself. Sorry, it's comparing yourself thinking I'm either better than you or I'm lesser than you. It's not you're better than me, so let me learn how to get to where you're at. Or if I'm ahead of you, how can I get you to where I'm at? It's never about that. It's a lot about comparing yourself to the people, which is again, it's easy to do, but it's easy also it's difficult not to do. Let's just put it that way.
For sure.
So that's definitely something when you think about it as to why is it so normalized? And one of the biggest thing you mentioned is social media.
Yeah.
Social media has definitely driven that as well, and that's why a lot of people post a lot of their highlight reels. But at the same time, we cannot be comparing ourselves to people. We can't want what someone have if we're not willing to make the sacrifices they did to get what they have. Because a lot of people make sacrifices. A lot of them have put in certain amount of work, certain amount of sacrifice to get to it. It can't be wrong. Some people have gotten handouts. At the
Mm,
same time, somebody in their lineage put in that sacrifice to get that. So now if they're reaping the fruits of that benefits, who are you to compare yourself to that?
yeah.
And who are you to judge that person at the end of the day? They didn't ask for it. If I got came down to millions, I won't be mad. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna be mad at somebody for that. I mean, somebody in their family put in the work to make sure that their family is taken care of because now we're in that process of putting in certain work to make sure our family is taken care of. So I have utmost respect for the people who actually went before and put in that work, and now some of the kids are of reaping that benefits. Now there are some people who live in arrogance because of that, because you know why? They're in comparison to other people who don't have what they have, and they come off as egotistical, and that's why
Mhm.
people don't like them.
Yeah, for sure. Segment 2 is basically the emotional cost of comparison and what that actually does in your life and how that pretty much damages our minds. Comparison makes people chase lives that they were never meant to live. And what I mean by that is people copying business models, for example, copying influencers, copying lifestyles, copying, ways of life, vacations, everything. And maybe you weren't meant to live that. Maybe that wasn't what God had called for you, right? I think every single person has an individual gift that God gives them. We are created with purpose. I think that's the number one thing that points to why we even have a God, but we were created with purpose. Everyone feels that sense of wanting to accomplish, wanting to feel fulfillment and purpose in their life at some point, right? And I think that comparing ourselves to other people can limit that because we are now looking at them versus instead having a mirror in front of us, looking at ourselves and looking at, okay, what if it is business? Okay, what business models actually suit my lifestyle? Instead of, okay, what business models work for them? That might work for you, yes, but it might lead down to a road of unfulfillment. There's so many times where I have looked at people with success and been like, wow, like I could do that business for sure. But I know that if it's not something that I actually have gifts for, that I actually am meant to do, then I'm not really going to be fulfilled with it down the line. And that might be something simple, something that might seem small, or maybe that's something big. And maybe that's speaking in front of millions of people, or and maybe you have that gift, or maybe it's creating movies, or maybe it's directing, or maybe it's, writing books and stories and novels. Whatever it might be, I think it's important to look at our personal gifts and what we're good at and the value that we can provide because each one of us has something that we are good at, that we do have purpose in, and that is a gift basically from God. And I think that's the most important thing to look at when we are trying not to compare. And so that's why it's damaging when you do, because it makes you forget your gifts, it makes you forget your purpose, it makes you forget your calling with God, and therefore you focus on someone else's.
And just piggyback off of that too is like comparison kills your gratitude because you're so focused on where things are. Like, first of all, comparison is a bit of arrogance because you're setting yourself as the standard maker. So
Mhm.
if you're making yourself the main point, whereas if somebody's either above you or below you, and you're putting yourself as that standard, thinking, okay, no, you're the standard of excellence. If that makes sense, right? Where putting yourself in a very rough spot, tough spot, where it's like you're either not sure if you want to move forward or you're gonna make yourself easily be able to fall back, right? And on that point again of it kills your gratitude, you forget a lot about the things that you already have or the things that you've done. You lose gratitude for your family, you lose gratitude for good health, gratitude for having a roof on your head, a car
Yeah.
you can drive, shoes on your feet, clothes on your back. You lose gratitude for a lot of those stuff because you're more focused on what can I acquire because you see someone else with something that you don't have. Like if for instance, you have basketball shoes, I have basketball shoes. You have the nicest, the new Kobe's, or the new Kyries, the new Stephs. But I just have a regular pair of Nikes that just gets the job done. But because I don't have the new and latest shoes, I'm comparing, be like, you know what? I want yours. Whereas there's somebody who's like, man, I wish I had money to even buy a pair of sneakers.
Or maybe the reality is, maybe I went into debt buying those shoes just to look good, just for then
Hmm.
you to compare yourself to me to make yourself feel worse by not having them, when the reality is just sad.
Yeah, it's the same thing with that. With, like my car, for a while, I lived in comparison because I got hit and run twice. My door was super dented on the one side. It was
I
completely
remember.
bashed in, and my other side had a long scratch along the side. But it's like I couldn't. When I go to drive-throughs, I will always be like, I feel embarrassed to go through a drive-through because I have to open up my car door
Remember.
because I couldn't put my window down.
I didn't care. I would go to drive-throughs on your side, and I would just open the window and be
Yeah,
like, "What's up?"
open the window of the door.
Or the door.
Yeah, so I'll still do it and stuff, but it's so easy to look at your friends and be like, man, these people have nice cars and everything. But at the same time, if somebody was comparing themselves to me having a nice car, they don't know what happened to my car for it to be like that, right?
Mhm.
And at the same time, it's like, how can I compare myself to someone else when that situation didn't happen to them, that happened to me, right? I cannot put my life circumstances onto someone else thinking, how are they ahead of me when I feel like I'm this, I'm that, and stuff like that. It's so easy to compare the things. Whereas there's somebody who's still catching the bus,
Mm,
wishing that they could even have that type of the car just to even go from A to B,
yeah.
right? And we can touch a little bit deeper when we talk about like how to battle these things and overcome these things, but it's like you guys gotta keep your eyes away from those type of things, right? And it's think just learn how to flip the switch on it. Yeah, no, I just wanted to share that because it does kill that gratitude where you're not thankful for the things that you have. You don't show, you forget of the things that you have. You forget how far you've came, where you came from, how you get to where you are because
Mhm.
you're so far ahead because of all the highlight reels that you've been seeing.
Yeah, and it causes, like, mental issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe depression or anxiety for some people. I remember when I first became a mom, I didn't really compare myself to other people, I compared myself to my previous self. And that's dangerous as well as a mother because now going on my third child, I still look back before kids and I'm like, wow, I had life so easy, right? And also, I looked really good. I was fit. There was nothing going on. But at the same time, it's dangerous path to go down because one, you can't ever go back to that person. You're a new person now. And it's not that you're worse or better off. You're a new person, you're a new creation. And so it's important to look at, okay, what blessings do I have now? What blessings have I gained from going from point A to point B? And what can I take out of that? What wisdom have I gained? And
Mm-hmm.
in the context of becoming a mom, yes, there's a lot that I lost in my previous self, but there's not much that I can do about those things. There's a lot more that I gained by the sacrifices that I made, and I gained wisdom, right? That only that path could have attained me. I gained strength. I gained mindset. I gained 3 beautiful children, right? So even though the third one isn't born yet, I just think that for the moms out there that I definitely feel like it can be very difficult to not compare yourself to your previous self, but you are a blessing. And I think that by noticing all that you have gained through that process, you will really see your purpose in this current season, right? So,
Yeah, and one of the things I've always loved to say is fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process of elevating, fall in love with the process of the crushing, fall in love with the process of the bad times, the good times. Just fall in love with that process because it's during that process that's going to shape you. And no, this is great stuff. And the other segment here that I wanted to jump into was the spiritual cost. And when it comes to
mhm.
spiritual cost, is a comparison can definitely make you, you know, not trust God's timing. It doesn't, comparison not only kills your confidence, but it kills your trust in God. Now, and it kills that whole obedience because you start questioning God and be like, man, why not me? Why do, again, same questions. Why am I here? Why do they get what I don't get? You know what I mean? And it's so, so true because I've remember times where I'm like, as a Christian, walking in obedience, doing all that stuff. I'm like, yo, this guy here is a complete sinner, man. How is he getting all this? Like, look at rappers and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, how are they getting all this millions and stuff like that? Like, oh, guys I know who are not deep into the word and not Christians, all how are they having all this success? I don't know what deals they sign. I don't know what things they've done, what rituals they have done, any of that stuff. Right? I'm
Mhm.
not saying that they have, but am I willing to do what they did to get what they had? Right? But I remember I will always compare myself, saying, man, like I've prayed for like to be more advanced to where I am. I pray that I will have more than what I have. So why am I here? But that person who is not even a believer is over there, and you start to question those things. You start questioning God's timing, not knowing that you're killing your own dream. You're plucking
Mhm.
up the seeds that you've already planted, and you're just saying that that's why it's a faith killer, right? You start to lose that faith. Comparison causes you to lose the faith in the things that you had set out to do, to complete.
Yeah, for sure. Like makes you lose faith, and it also makes you lose faith in God's timing. It's hard not to compare ourselves. We're creatures of comparison. I think it also can be used as a good thing. Like, there are ways to use it as a good thing. And in our fourth segment, we'll go over some ways where you can actually apply and break out of the cycle. But yeah,
Yeah, just continue with the spiritual side of things as well. Is that some of us need to understand that we can't compare ourselves to our pastor in a spiritual sense, right? Or somebody who's more spiritually ahead of us. We can't compare ourselves because we don't know how much time they invested into doing the Bible, studying the word and stuff like that. So it's sometimes when you like I've never done it, but I've known like people. I'm pretty sure there's people who's like, man, why can't I pray like that? Why doesn't
I
God?
definitely have.
Why doesn't God speak to me? Why don't I get these certain visions? Why don't I have this special gift? Like why don't I? Why can't I recite the Bible so easily? Like people can pick up scriptures from whenever they recite it off their head. Like how can somebody speak so powerful? I just feel like I just don't have it. And it's so easy to compare yourself to those things. Like, oh, how are they leading in the church? I feel like I know more than them.
Mm.
It's so easy to do those things. And it's like, at the same time, God had a journey for them as God has a journey for you. And again, on the spiritual side of things as well, is like, you should not. You should not be doing that because what you're going to be doing now, you're going to take that time away from you. If God is trying to put you in a position to learn certain things, you're going to force yourself to learn certain things. So maybe you're supposed to be someone who teaches on faith. Maybe you're not supposed maybe you're not the okay. Let's for instance, maybe you're supposed to minister people versus there's people on the prayer team. You're not really that much of a powerful prayer, but you can speak into people very well. Why would you compare yourself to someone who has a very strong prayer life, who can pray like feel like the most powerful prayers, right? I know you started studying like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to pray stronger, pray better, and stuff like that. But God is calling you to evangelize. God is calling you to speak to the people and talk to the people. Over time, you're gonna learn that stuff, right? And hopefully that makes sense in terms of, but at the same time, is like maybe God's not calling you to learn the Bible fully yet. Maybe God is calling you to complete your walk better, complete your faith walk.
Or there's
Maybe
a chapter or a verse that he wants you
exactly,
to really apply in your life, right?
exactly.
Before you go and learn the whole Bible. Maybe it's just one part that you really need to apply into your life before a lot of things change for you.
And it's kind of like that same analogy of these 5 swings a day, right? It's you can't just go chop one tree, chop one tree, chop one tree, chop another tree, chop another tree. This you're just gonna leave a lot of scratches on trees all over the place with nothing being done. Versus you do 5 swings a day, 5 swings on the same tree, done. 5 swings on the same tree, you're done. 5 swings on the same tree, you're done. You chop that tree down, then you move on to the next tree. We're comparing ourselves to the person who's chopping different trees, thinking, oh man, they got a lot of skills here, but they're a lot of skills, but they're a master of none. None of those trees have been chopped, and you don't know the chaos that's going on in their life. So
Mhm.
stop comparing yourself to someone where you don't know what chapter they're in. You can't compare your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 30 because now you're just putting yourself way ahead than you really need to be. So you need to calm that down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've gone through many seasons where we feel like we're it's easy for us to have compared ourselves to other
Yep.
people. We've gone through financial challenges. We've been married very young, had kids very young. So I think it's like very easy in our situation to compare ourselves. And I think I definitely have compared myself in a lot of ways because, like, oh, wow, like other 24-year-olds, or 21-year-olds, because I was 21. Yeah, I was 21 when I first had a kid, I think, right? So other 21-year-olds are living this great life, and here I am, pregnant with a newborn, trying to figure out my life, right? So I think that it's been easy for us to compare ourselves. And I don't know how much you do. I feel like you're not really the type of person to compare yourself, but for me, I definitely have. And so It's been interesting growing through that and getting better mentally in that headspace. And it's true about the tree analogy. I actually heard about a different tree analogy, and it was like, if you tell me I have 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'm gonna spend the first 2 sharpening my axe. And just with that analogy alone, it's like, what if you look around you and other people are already chopping, 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 and you're here for 2 hours and you're sharpening your axe, because ultimately, if the axe is dull, it's gonna take you so much longer and it may never even cut down the tree. But you spend the 3 hours sharpening the axe, and then you cut down the tree a lot faster. And so the ability to stay in our lane and look at the work that we have to do is something that I think God has humbled me a lot in different aspects, but is also a great point for other people to look at, is like, you just have to be focused on yourself. You just have to be focused on your tree. That's ultimately what's important.
On the flip side of that, right? If you think about, like, as you were mentioning about our life, we could also did it the other way where we're like, you know what? We're young, we're married, we have kids, we have life figured out. Most of the people that we know at our age are partying, doing their thing. They don't have a significant other yet. They probably
Mhm.
either dated or are single, have no kids. So we have the knowledge now. It will be so easy to think like that. You know what I mean? But one of
And
the
I
great,
we did. Like, I definitely have thought like that, and you probably thought like that as well.
in a way, for me, what I've always thought is like, how can I get better? It's always been the thing where it's like I did compare myself where it's like, maybe I am ahead, but at the same time, compared to what? Right? And it's like, why am I comparing myself to others? There's a
Mhm.
lot of times where it's easy to do that, where it's like you feel like you're so far ahead. But I never thought that I was ahead. I never ever thought that I was ahead. I just thought that I had certain things done quicker, which is amazing. But at the same time, I don't think I was ahead. And
And
oh,
that's just a comparison mindset of, like, ahead of what? Like, in comparison to what? Because you
yeah,
can look at someone who's not ahead and be like, "Oh, you're ahead of them." But then you can look at someone who's more ahead than you and be like, "Oh, I'm not actually ahead." So it just depends on what you're looking at.
yeah. And what I liked that we always did, and I respected that we always did, is no matter what season we're in, we always seek perspective. We
Mhm.
never ever thought that we were the people or we were at, like, no matter where we were, we always seeked perspective. And if anyone we knew we were ahead of, or we just had a little bit more experience than, we try to share that experience with them and be like, this is why where we are. This is how we got here, and it's like, it's easy to do that stuff. Let's look at the same thing. When I was in high school and I see people getting pregnant, then it's easy to compare and be like, man, why are they doing this? I could never. Like, why would I want to do that? You're low hikey comparing yourself, being like, okay, I would never do that. I don't know what's wrong with it, but you don't know what happened.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, some people, I mean, you might know what happened, but at the same time, you never really know fully,
Yeah.
right? So it's a lot of those things where you can easily talk. But yeah, we can definitely jump into the fourth segment. You had quite a few things you want to share on that for sure. How to break the trap.
How to break the trap, how to break the cycles of comparison in your life, how to get out of them, and how to just start living life free of those things. And not to say that you're going to never compare yourself, because comparison can be used in a positive light as well. And that's one of the points. Comparison can be used as, okay, yeah, I'm doing so horrible and this person is succeeding and this person is succeeding. This person I went to high school is succeeding, and it's very easy to get down that trap. But at the same time, you can use it and flip it around and look at someone who is succeeding, or look at someone who's in the position or has the things that you want. And you can say to yourself, okay, if they were able to do that, right, that's awesome. So I must also be able to do what I want to do. Or if that's also where I want to go and you're comparing yourself to their position, what did they do that I'm not doing that I can now apply to my life and I can utilize to get to where they are? Or what can I learn from them as well? And that's the importance of having, like you said, perspective, having mentors in your life, having people to ask questions to that have already walked the path that you're walking and that have achieved results in the areas that you want to achieve results, because that's where you can get the mindset from and be like, okay, so this is what I've done. This is what they've done. You can compare yourself in a good form and being like, okay, this is what I need to do more of to actually get to where I want to be, that type of thing.
Yeah, and just capture that thought. It's like, why am I comparing myself to this person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, do I know them? No? Okay. What about them am I comparing myself to? Do I not? And then try to position yourself in a place of gratitude, where it's like, think about the things that you do have. Okay. And then if you have nothing, think about why is that? Have you done the work to get it? If you have been doing the work to get it, then now you got to shift your mindset into the to a, in a frame of I'm one step closer to getting there. It's many different. It's again, it's harder to do than comparing, but it's definitely more relieving because now you have that mental peace. Now you can think about yourself in a positive light because how you speak about yourself, what you tell yourself, what you speak into yourself is what's going to shine to light. So it's like that's exactly how you just have to capture those thoughts and just ask those certain things. And then if you catch yourself doing it in a negative way, just flip it. Like, hey man, this person's ahead of me, but you know what? I want to learn from them. The next time you have a negative comparison thought, whether it's you being ahead or you being behind, talk to that person. If
Yeah.
it's somebody you think you're ahead of, talk to them and kind of share wisdom with them. If it's somebody you think you're behind of, seek wisdom from them.
Mm.
And I think that would be a great way to start breaking that cycle because there's a lot of antisocial people. Not a lot of people want to go talk to somebody they just start being envious of. And you just start breaking that cycle. There's different things you want to try to do, right? Again, it's not going to be easy. You got to start somewhere. But at the same time, the biggest way and one of the best ways to break that comparison is how you think about yourself
A mindset change.
and your self-image. Who do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as successful? Do you think that your path that you're on, you're going to be successful? Do you have people in your association that uplift you? If you have all of those things, a lot of the times you won't find yourself comparing. You will see you find yourself comparing, but you already have battle plans for those times that you have yourself. So everything starts from the root. Everything starts from sharpening that axe. You're sharpening your mind, your soul, and just everything eternal.
Yeah. I think focus on obedience with God, focus on obedience with what you think that your purpose is. Like what we spoke about earlier is everyone has a gift, right?
Mhm.
And so what is that gift for you? What is that purpose in your life? What are those talents or those abilities that you have? And focus on your path. Focus on how you are putting that into your life and how you are helping others and what you're doing ultimately. So focus on the obedience that God has. Limit exposure to comparison triggers. So where are you finding these thoughts of comparison the most? Is it through social media? For most of us, yes, it's going to be through social media. And we're going to see reels, we're going to see TikToks, we're going to see YouTube videos of people in similar positions as us, maybe seeming like they are living a better life. But you're comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. That's the reality of social media. And you're looking at curated posts. You're looking at filtered success and visible struggles that people are having day to day that they're not posting. Because usually when people post, they post the best, right? They don't post the worst angles. They don't post the arguments with their spouse or the arguments with their kids or the arguments with themselves. Like they don't post the times where they're crying. They don't post the times where they're frustrated. And so when you're looking at that video, that TikTok of whatever, of the fitness model or the mom who seems like she has it all together, or the perfect family on YouTube. I mean, the Ace family is a great example because a lot of millions of people looked at that family like, wow, this is the perfect family. They have the dog, they have 3 kids, they have a beautiful marriage for 10 years.
Marriage.
And they have a beautiful marriage for 10 years. But that was not the reality. Everything that's posted is a highlight reel. And I think a little bit we're getting into maybe a season where people are starting to become a little bit more vulnerable. People are actually enjoying more vulnerability out there. But ultimately, that's still not going to show everything. You're never going to post something bad about yourself necessarily, right? Most people aren't. And so, because you just get attacked. And so you cannot look at your
All the
life.
online bullies.
Yeah. People who are literally just sitting there comparing and, who probably hate their life is what online bullies are. But you can't compare your life to someone else's highlight reel because it's just not real. Social media isn't fake, it's just incomplete. And it's always going to provide that incomplete picture of other people's life, right? But you know your life. And so you know your struggles and you know what you're good at. And so focus on that. I think that's important.
It's crazy when people put a lot of faith and love into the couples that they see online, and then when they have divorces, they're so, oh my gosh, what? They're all
Hmm.
shocked and surprised. But I thought you guys were all perfect and stuff. Like those are perfect examples of what you just explained right there.
Yeah.
Just to wrap this all up into a
Yeah.
beautiful little present, little bow and everything. Just to finish just everything off here, just to wrapping up points is, as you mentioned in the beginning, right, is
Mhm.
comparison continues to let people feel like they're behind, but you're actually just on a different path.
The moment you stop comparing is the moment that you actually finally start building.
Absolutely. And you just gotta focus on your obedience, trust your God's timing, and just take the eyes off of yourself. At the same time, do not set yourself as a standard bar, because that's what you're doing when you compare yourself to people.
And just keep walking.
100%.